Pause what you're doing. I just spent 72 hours going through leaked documents, corporate filings, and website archives, and I found proof that OpenAI and its former executives might be running one of the biggest scams in Silicon Valley history. I'm talking fake testimonials, circular money schemes, $50 billion in annual losses, and a CEO who won't let investors see the books. Before you click away thinking this is another conspiracy theory, I'm going to show you receipts. Real names, real companies, real financial documents from Microsoft and Wall Street analysts. And by the end of this, you're going to understand why I think Sam Altman belongs in a congressional hearing, not on a conference stage. Let's go. Mira Murati, OpenAI's former chief technology officer. She left and started something called Thinking Machines Lab. The company is 11 months old. They have no meaningful product. Their valuation? $50 billion. They raised $2 billion in their seed round. Now you're probably thinking, well, she's from OpenAI, she's obviously legit. That's what I thought too, until I went to their website. They have testimonials. Berkeley, Princeton, Stanford, Redwood Research. Looks professional, looks credible, except it's allegedly fake. I looked up every single name on those testimonials. Tyler Griggs from Berkeley? Not a professor, not even a researcher. He's a PhD student, a student leaving a Yelp review for a $50 billion company. Ziron Yang from Princeton? First-year PhD student, first year. This person just started grad school and they're endorsing enterprise AI infrastructure, but here's where it gets absolutely bonkers. Yong Lin, listed as Princeton, giving a glowing testimonial about how great Thinking Machines' product is. I found her LinkedIn. She works at Thinking Machines. They are using their own employees to leave fake reviews on their corporate website and passing it off as university endorsements. This company, with fake testimonials from their own staff, raised $2 billion. The lead investor? Andreessen Horowitz. Now you might be saying, okay, maybe that's just one bad apple. So let me show you the pattern. Barrett Zoff. He was the co-founder of Thinking Machines with Mira Murati. They had a fight. He either got fired or quit. The story's conflict. But here's the insane part. Less than 1 hour after leaving Thinking Machines, OpenAI hired him back. Him and John Schulman, OpenAI's actual co-founder who had also joined Thinking Machines. They just boomeranged back to the mothership. So the people behind a company with allegedly fake testimonials and a $50 billion valuation with no product just went back to OpenAI. What does that tell you about OpenAI? But wait, it gets worse. There's another company called Humans, 3 months old. Not 11 months, 3. No product, not even a prototype. Just a website with corporate speak about human connection and multi-agent reinforcement learning. Valuation? $4.5 billion. They just raised $480 million. I went to their site. Their entire value proposition is this sentence. AI models are rapidly learning to reason better and take actions with increasing autonomy. But for humans, progress happens when we understand one another and make connections. That's not a product. That's a fortune cookie. And investors gave them $500 million. Who started this company? More ex-OpenAI executives. Seeing a pattern yet? Here's what's happening. OpenAI executives are leaving, starting companies with no products, raising billions on their OpenAI pedigree, and the valuations are completely detached from reality. This is what's called the greater fool theory. You don't need a good product. You just need to sell your stake to someone dumber than you before the music stops. And Silicon Valley is eating it up. Because if Andreessen Horowitz is backing it, it must be good, right? Wrong. These VCs aren't doing fundamental analysis. They're playing hot potato with billion-dollar checks. But here's the question I kept asking myself. If the people leaving OpenAI are doing this, what's happening inside OpenAI? So I started digging into OpenAI's actual financials. And what I found is terrifying. OpenAI is reportedly making $13 billion in annual revenue. That sounds impressive until you look at expenses. Compute costs, $12 billion. Salaries, $5 billion. Infrastructure projects like Stargate, $4 billion. Add that up, that's $21 billion in expenses against $13 billion in revenue. That's an $8 billion loss. Except it's actually way worse than that. Microsoft recently filed their quarterly earnings. Buried in the disclosures was a $12 billion loss attributed to their OpenAI investment. Financial analysts at firms like HSBC did the math. Based on Microsoft's ownership percentage, they reverse-engineered OpenAI's actual losses. The number they got? $50 billion in annual losses. Not $8 billion. 50. OpenAI is allegedly burning $50 billion a year. Let me give you context. Google, the company OpenAI claims to be beating, made $136 billion in profit last year. Meta made $39 billion. Microsoft made $88 billion. OpenAI lost $50 billion. This isn't a business. This is a cash incinerator with a PR team. And here's the kicker. 95% of ChatGPT users pay absolutely nothing. I need you to do something right now. Pause this video. Go to the comments. If you've never paid for ChatGPT, type 0. If you have, type paid. I need to prove this number is real, because if it is, OpenAI has no path to profitability. Think about it. 95% free users, $50 billion in losses, no disclosed path to profitability. How do you fix that? Well, if you're Sam Altman, you panic. First, you introduce ads, even though you previously said advertising would be a last resort. Then you launch GPT Go at $8 a month, a 40% discount from your existing $20 tier, because nobody's buying it. Then you start giving free months to people who already paid, begging them to come back, and then, and this is allegedly the most desperate move, you start exploring taking a percentage of revenue from any business ideas people generate using ChatGPT. If you ask ChatGPT for advice and build a business from it, they want a cut. That's not a business model. That's a shakedown. Hey, you used our chatbot to brainstorm? Pay us. And people wonder why I'm calling this a scam. Now, Sam Altman loves to say he doesn't own any of OpenAI. He takes barely any salary, just enough for health insurance. He's doing this purely for the benefit of humanity. That's his pitch, the selfless billionaire. But let me show you what Sam actually owns. Sam Altman owns a significant stake in Reddit. And in a totally unrelated coincidence, Reddit gave OpenAI permission to scrape every post, comment, and thread on the platform. Your words, your ideas, your arguments, all fed into ChatGPT's training data without compensation. He promised to give 10% of Reddit's value back to the community. Never happened. Regulatory issues. But the data extraction? That happened. Sam is heavily invested in Helion and Oklo, nuclear energy companies. OpenAI claims they need 250 gigawatts of power by the early 2030s. That's the electrical consumption of 1.5 billion people, the entire population of India. Who's going to provide that power? Oh, right, Sam's nuclear companies. He's invested in identity verification startups. You know, the exact kind of technology you need when AI-generated deepfakes become a massive problem. A problem created by AI. Create the disease, sell the cure. Classic move. And then there's WorldCoin, Sam's personal project. It's a cryptocurrency that requires you to scan your eyeballs into a metal orb to receive payment. He says it's for universal basic income when AI takes everyone's jobs. How noble. But here's what WorldCoin actually is. A biometric database linked to a financial system controlled by Sam Altman. You want money after AI destroys the economy? Give me your iris scan. And people are actually doing it. In developing countries, people are lining up to scan their eyeballs for $25 in crypto. So when Sam says, I don't own OpenAI, he's technically correct. He owns the data source, the energy supply, the identity verification, the backup economy. He doesn't need to own OpenAI. He owns everything OpenAI needs to function. That's not altruism. That's a vertical monopoly. And this isn't new behavior for Sam. His first company was called Looped, a location-sharing app. He claimed it had way more users than any competitor. When Reuters investigated, they found Looped had 500 users. Sam said Reuters was wrong. It was 100 times that number. He promised evidence. He never provided it. Looped sold to Green Dot Corporation. They immediately shut it down and never used the technology. Investors alleged it was a shady deal to enrich Sequoia Capital, which had board members at both companies. Sam walked away with millions for building an app that no longer existed in any form. Just trust me, bro. And now he's doing it again, at a much bigger scale. But here's where this becomes a systemic problem for the entire economy. Because OpenAI isn't operating in isolation. They've created a circular money scheme involving Microsoft, Nvidia, Oracle, Amazon, and AMD. Microsoft invested $13 billion into OpenAI. OpenAI spent most of that buying Microsoft Azure cloud services. Microsoft books it as revenue. OpenAI books it as infrastructure investment. Everyone's happy, except it's the same money going in a circle. Nvidia is investing $100 billion into OpenAI over the next few years. OpenAI will spend that money buying Nvidia chips. Nvidia books it as revenue. OpenAI books it as growth investment. Same circular scheme. Oracle, Amazon, AMD, same deal. They invest in OpenAI. OpenAI spends it buying their products. They call it revenue growth. Stocks go up. But where's the actual value creation? Who's making money that doesn't come from another investor? This is financial musical chairs. Everyone's dancing. The music's loud. Champagne's flowing. But there's only one chair. And when the music stops, somebody's going bankrupt. And here's the most insane part. OpenAI's CFO went on a podcast and said, I'm paraphrasing his stammering, that the government should backstop OpenAI's financing. That federal guarantees might be needed to allow the financing to happen. Translation, your tax dollars should ensure their gambling. A private company losing $50 billion a year wants the government to guarantee their debt. Privatize the profits, socialize the losses. Where have we seen this before? Oh, right, the housing crisis. And when investors try to ask questions, they're silenced. A venture capital firm boss went on record saying, in OpenAI fundraising discussions, you are not even allowed to ask about the amount of cash they're burning. Not allowed. To ask about cash burn. When one investor did ask Sam Altman directly about their spending, Sam allegedly snapped, if you want to sell your shares, I'll find you a buyer. That's not the response of someone confident in their business model. That's the response of someone who doesn't want you looking at the books. And there's a reason for that, because the books are allegedly a disaster. HSBC analysts estimate OpenAI will be cash flow negative until at least the early 2030s. They'll need another $27 billion in funding just to stay solvent until then. Banking institutions are literally pricing in bankruptcy risk. Credit default swaps, which are basically insurance policies against a company going bankrupt, are spiking for Oracle, AMD, and other AI suppliers. The bond market is screaming, this isn't sustainable, but the equity market is still buying the hype. Because Sam keeps selling the dream. A GI, artificial general intelligence. AI smarter than humans. Coming soon, cancer cured, poverty ended, climate change solved, infinite abundance. That's the pitch. That's why investors keep writing checks. Except even Jensen Huang, the CEO of Nvidia, the company literally supplying the chips that make all of this possible, doesn't think AGI is imminent. He went on Joe Rogan's podcast and said, AI progress will be gradual, incremental, useful, but not revolutionary. The guy selling the shovels for the gold rush is saying there might not be any gold. B. But Sam needs you to believe in the gold. Because without that belief, the money stops. And then China dropped a nuke on the entire narrative. DeepSeek. A Chinese AI lab released a model that performs comparably to OpenAI's best models. But they claim it was built for a fraction of the cost. If that's true, and early benchmarks suggest it is, then OpenAI has been lying about why they need billions. When DeepSeek launched, American AI stocks lost hundreds of billions in market cap in a single day. The market suddenly woke up and thought, wait, maybe these valuations are insane. OpenAI's response? They accused DeepSeek of stealing their intellectual property, which is absolutely rich, because OpenAI built their entire model by scraping the internet without permission. Books, articles, code, art, music. They took everything and called it training data. But when someone allegedly does it to them, that's IP theft. You can't make this up. And here's the pattern I need you to see, because this is how scams work at scale. Step 1. Make impossible promises. Build godlike AI. Cure every disease. Solve every problem. Step 2. Raise billions using fear and FOMO. If you don't invest now, you'll miss the future. Step 3. Spend that money in ways that personally enrich you. Energy companies you own. Data sources you control. Step 4. When the money runs low, demand more. If investors hesitate, call them short-sighted. If they ask questions, show them the door. Step 5. When it inevitably collapses, you walk away rich from the side investments. The investors holding equity get wiped out. We've seen this exact playbook before. Theranos. Elizabeth Holmes promised revolutionary blood testing, raised hundreds of millions. It was all fake. WeWork. Adam Neumann promised to elevate the world's consciousness, raise tens of billions. It was a real estate company with a cult. FTX. Sam Bankman-Fried promised to revolutionize finance. Raised billions from the smartest VCs in the world. He was using customer money to gamble. Same pattern, different industry. And the warning signs are always the same. Charismatic founder, impossible promises, resistance to transparency, circular financial structures, investors who can't ask questions every single time. So why do smart investors keep falling for it? Because they're not trying to find sustainable businesses. They're trying to find the next fool to sell to. They don't care if OpenAI is profitable. They care if they can flip their stake for more money before it collapses. And who pays the price when it does collapse? Not Sam Altman. He's diversified across nuclear energy, cryptocurrency, identity verification, and real estate, not the VCs. They've already taken profits by selling shares to later investors. It's the pension funds, the retirement accounts, the index funds. Regular people who don't even know their money is in this. That's who gets destroyed when these bubbles pop. And that's why I'm making this video, because I think we deserve transparency. We deserve to know what our money is actually funding. Whether it's direct investment, tax subsidies, or just giving away our data for free, we're all funding this. And we're getting almost nothing in return. OpenAI won't publish a balance sheet, won't disclose detailed financials, won't let investors ask about cash burn. They operate with less transparency than a corner store, but they want $1 trillion to build the future. And the mainstream tech media won't cover this honestly. Because they're bought in, they need the AI hype to continue. Their advertising revenue depends on it, so they write puff pieces about Sam's vision instead of investigating the financials. That's why I need you to share this. Send it to someone who's bullish on AI. Send it to someone who thinks Sam Altman is a genius. Send it to someone who works in finance. Because this conversation needs to happen publicly. And do me a favor. Go to the comments right now. Type 0 if you've never paid for ChatGPT. Type paid if you have. I genuinely want to know if that 95% number is accurate. Because if it is, OpenAI has no sustainable business model. Look, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe in 5 years OpenAI cures cancer and I have to eat my words on camera. I'll do it. Gladly. But based on the leaked Microsoft documents, the fake testimonials from Mira Murati's company, the circular money schemes, Sam's conflicted investments, and the behavior patterns, I don't think I'm wrong. I think we're watching the largest misallocation of capital in tech history. I think we're watching a bubble that will make the dot-com crash look small. And I think a lot of people are going to lose money they couldn't afford to lose. So don't just trust me. Do your own research. Read the analyst reports from HSBC. Look at the credit default swap data. Check Thinking Machines Lab's website yourself and see those testimonials. Ask questions. Demand transparency. Don't accept "just trust me, bro" from people asking for billions. Because this is your economy, your retirement, your future. You deserve to know the truth. And the truth is, the emperor has no clothes. OpenAI is bleeding money. The executives are running side schemes, and nobody will show you the books. If you want to follow this story with me, subscribe and hit the bell. Because I'm not done. There's more here. And I'm going to keep digging until we get answers. Drop 0 or paid in the comments right now. Let's expose this together. Thanks for watching. Now go ask the questions they don't want you to ask.